Hello, Crystal here. So welcome to the second edition of creating generative artwork inspired by traditional artists. And last time I asked if there's any recommendations for artists, and we got quite a lot of recommendations for Bridget Riley. So I thought, let's give people what they want. So I made a few different simple looks, and here is Bridget Riley's works, and I was really inspired by these black and white optical illusion type of stuff, and thought how cool would it be to animate this and have these move. So I came back with these three looks, and they have similar techniques, and they're pretty simple, so I thought we can do three different type of compositions. So we can start with this one, and we'll begin with the clean network. So I'll start with making a base comp, and I'll just call this Op1, thinking of Optical Illusion 1, and we'll dive right in. And a lot of, for all three of the compositions, we're going to use this technique with using a rectangle comp. And I'll first change this resolution to 1024 to 1024. Can make it to any resolution, but I think this looks pretty good with a square resolution. And I'll change the size to 0.3 to 1, so it is a long rectangle. And I'll make this fill color into black. After this, I'll add a transform top. And the transform top, important in the tile tab, I'll change extend to repeat. Then I'll be able to have a lot of lines rather than just one line. So I'll change the scale here to negative 0.012, and you'll see, bam, we have all these lines now. We'll keep the SY to 1. I'm going to rotate this into negative 130. And I'll change the background to white. So background here in the transform to white. And I'll do comp over color on and pre-multiply off. You'll see these lines are pretty jiggity. Is that word, jiggity? Jaggy? And we can change that by having on the common page the input smoothness to bitmap pixel and the viewer to bitmap pixel, and you'll see, like, bam, clean lines. Here we go. Then we'll add a null. I'm going to call this out. Let's have this as a background so we can see what's going on. But you'll notice on all these compositions, your eyes are going to start kind of like pulsating looking at this. But we'll add a noise top. And this noise top, again, resolution 1024 to 1024. And I'll change the pixel format to 16-bit. And over here, change period to 2, to harmonics to 0, harmonic spread to 0, harmonics gain to 1, exponent to a pretty random number, 1.56. And again, this is what I personally found that works, but feel free to play around with this noise. For the transform in the TY, I'll have it animate by doing abs prime.frame times 0.001. I'll have this subtle movement. And we'll just add a displace. And in displace, I will hook the noise to the second one and change displace weight to 0.1, 0.1. We'll see this nice subtle lines. I want to have a white frame, and that will also cut out all these kind of imperfections. I don't know what to call it. And so I'll do that by adding a rectangle top. Change resolution to be 1024 to 1024. And this size to be 0.94 and 0.94. Let's add a multiply. Hook this to a second one, add the frame, and I'll add a transform to just make the background white. And then we'll have a white border. So off this, on this. And our first look is already done. I'll change the background to be capitalized out. Then I can see this beautiful first composition. Voila. Off to the second composition. Second composition, we'll do the one with the arrows kind of going out, like the square. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then we'll just make it together and you'll see. So I'll just call this Op2, Optical Illusion 2. And then I will start by making the textures. So I will do a circle top. In the circle top, change the resolution to 1024 to 1024. So I'm going to make these masks for the different four sides of the composition. So I'm going to change this to a triangle, and the radius, I'll have it to be 0.5, and I'll just make this 0 because it doesn't really matter. And the rotation, I'll have it to 90, so it will be pointing upwards. I'm going to change the center, the center to be 0 and negative 0.1, and that will move it down a little. And then I'll add a transform, and we'll really push this down to make it to like a corner, half into a corner, like a pie piece. These units will seem kind of random, but I'll have it the y to be negative 0.258, and you'll see that it pushes it down. And the scale also seems random. I'm going to make the bottom wider, so it'll be 1.117, and the y to be 0.646. So it looks like a little pie piece. Voila. Okay. And I'll add a null after this. And this null, I will call this bottom because it's the bottom of this pie piece. And after this transform, I'll add a flip. And I'll flip the y, and I'll call this top. So we have the top, the bottom, and we'll do a top left flip, and that'll be the right. Where you can do the left side, but I'm going to just skip that because if you have 3 masks, then whatever is on the bottom will fill the side. So I'll just have 3 masks, and I'll start making the texture. So for a texture, I'll make a rectangle top, change the resolution to be 1024 to 1024, really drill that into your mind. And then I will change the size to be 0.5 to 1, and I'll make this color to black. Add a transform after this. And I will have the tile to be repeat and rotation to be 90. So let's flip it to that side. My little dance. Then I'll change the size to 0.007. Ooh, look at all these lines. And let's make it animate. For our TY, I will have my handy dandy abs time dot seconds, and I'll slow it down to 0.2. What did I do? That's wrong. Abs time dot seconds. Abs time dot seconds. Ooh, look at that. It is animating. 0.7. It's doing more lines. I want actually the scale change 0.007 to 0.07. That's better. Slow down. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to just copy and paste this translate and make this translate Y to add a negative in front, so it's going to the opposite direction. So we have two of these textures. And let's have a background. So I just copied both of them and changed the background color to white and comp over background on. Cool. I'll just copy and paste everything and make the other two textures. So I'll change this rectangle to be white. Now you look like this doesn't exist because we need to change the background to black. And if we change to alpha, the last open to 1, then it will block it out. And we'll change both of the rotation to 0. So it's going long ways. And I'll just copy and paste this ty expression to be in tx. So these lines don't look as jiggity as the other ones when we did it because they're bigger, but I still will just make the common input smoothness to bitmap, the view smoothness to bitmap. So all of them, I select all of them, so all of them are changed to bitmap. And then now we can add the textures. So I'll add and multiply after this. And I'll just pipe this in, so it'll just mask this on. Add another multiply. Add the bottom pi. I'll also change this to bot text, like for texture. And bot text for bottom texture. Add another multiply. Do this and call this right text. We don't have the left text because this will just be in the bottom, and then it will just fill up the puzzle piece. I know, yeah. So I'll add a composite. We'll change the composite to be over, and then we can just hook the top, the bottom, the right, and the left. And if I add a null, we'll call this out. So we have our first part done. I want to make this a little bit more curved, so I'll add a lens distort. And this lens distort, it's a little bit random, but the K1, I'm going to make it to negative 0.525. Feel free to kind of like play around with the parameters just to see like, what does it do exactly? Like, what if we make it to positive? It will just go inwards. But I don't want that, so we'll change it back to negative 5. Great. And I will finally do a little masking. A rectangle comp, I'll put 1024, 1024. Make this 0.94 by 0.94, like what we did in the last one. And add a multiply, and I'll copy it. I lied. Finally, the last thing is have a nice little white border by using a transfer top and comp over background pre-multiplier RGB off. So got the second look. I'm going to have the operator viewer to be out so we can see it. And now off to the last third one. We'll add a base. Call this op 3. And we'll dive right inside. So for op 3, so it's a little bit more complicated, but a lot of the same techniques. And so we'll start with making the textures. We'll add a rectangle top. We should be experts at this by now. So 1024, 1024, and I'll make this one size 0.4 by 1, fill color to black. What we're going to add afterwards? Transform. Transform, change the tile to repeat, and input smoothness to bitmap pixels, so it won't be all jaggedy. And I'll have the scale to be 0.03. And we'll see a bunch of lines. And I want to move it to the side. So rotation to negative 139. And I'll have it move. So the TX, I'll add a abs time dot seconds times 0.2. So we'll see it animate. I'll copy this and paste this. And for this expression, I'm going to add a negative in front and keep it to 0.2, but I'm going to have it to 0.1 because I kind of like the variations more. And I'll change this rotation to be negative 213. I'm going to add a null after this. We'll call this text 1. And I'll add another null. And I'll call this text 3. Wait, text 2, text B. Great. Now we'll move to Sopland, and we will play with having a torus. Sop. Torus up. Torus up. In this torus, I'm going to just turn on the wireframe so we can see what we're working with. Orientation, I'll change it to X. And primitive type to polygon. And for the radius, I'll have it to be 1 and 0.25. And what that did is make the hole bigger. And the rows, I'll have it to be 50 and columns to 100, just so it'll just be a smoother torus. I'll add a null. I'm going to add 2 nulls. And after nulls, I'm going to add a geometry. Another geometry. Cool. For the geometry, in the translate, I'm going to copy the rotation and paste bind it. So not reference, but bind. You'll know if it's a purple, that's binded. And what that will do is whatever I change here, it'll change here. And whatever I change here will change up here. But for rotation, RY, I want to change it to 90. So flip it back here. Why did I make this X and why did I rotate it here? It's because we're going to instance it. And so to make sure all the orientation is correct. So for the GO2, I'm going to shift this a bit. So right now there's 2 torus sets on top of each other. I'm going to move it a little more forward and up. So it'll be staggering on each other. So I'll have the X to be the same, but the Y to be 0.2 and TX to be 1.3. And then I'll add a line stop, and this will be used for instancing. I'm going to turn this on and add the points so we can see what we're going to do. So I will first make this slanted by adding, I'll make this longer. So this, for the point B, be 26. So you see it's stretched. I'm going to slant it down by going to -3. So it went down, and I want more points. I want 10 points. So once we instance it, every torus will hit each of the points. Add a null. I'll call this inst for instancing, and a sop2. I'll copy both of these geos because I'm going to instance both of them. On the instance tab, turn it on, drag the SOP2, and TX, TY, TZ. Yeah, cool. So let's see what's going on. I'm going to add a camera. Actually, I'm going to add 2 cameras. And I'm going to name one camera to side view for reference, another one for, I'll call it render cam. Then I'll add a render top. And for the render top, I'll have the camera to just be render cam. Oh, we don't have a light. So we don't need a light because we're going to just use constant materials. So let's add constant material 1 and constant material 2. And for the text one, I'll drag it onto constant 1 and text 2, axe to constant 2, and we'll drag constant 1 to geo1 and constant 2 to geo2. For all of these, and turn on viewer active and click on wire just so we can still see what's going on. Render comp, I'm going to change it to 1024 to 1024. I'll add a null spot. And I'll add a transform after the render and change the background to white. And the pre-multiplier RGB off and comp on. I'll just have this as a background so I can see what we're working with. We're getting pretty close actually, but I just also want to show you guys what's happening. So for this side view, I'm going to change the camera to be -10, 0, 50. Rotation to 0, 90, and pivot 0, 0, and -60. So now you can see what's happening here. So this is Geo1, and this is Geo2. So I have 2 of the instancing, and I raise it up and slide it forward so they're staggering, and they have 2 different textures, so they're 2 different textures are going opposite towards each other. So you can play around with the transform, the rotations. You'll see that you'll have different types of effects. And even like if you make it faster, you can play around with these parameters. But I just like the texture -139 and -213. For this, I'm going to just move it a little bit to be 0.04, just to lower it down. And you see this little inseam, so we can get rid of that by adding a texture comp. And we'll change the texture comp to be modify source. And we can adjust the scale to where you adjust the scale, you can see that it's adjusting. So you can play around with these numbers, but what worked with me was 0.835. Let's copy this onto the other 2, so now you don't really see the line as much. Copy, paste this for the second texture, and again, you can play with these numbers, but what worked for me was 0.894. And you can see a little bit on the second one, but it's a lot less visible now. And we got our third look. Voila. We did it. And yeah, it's quite adaptable. You can make this into colors if you want and play around with the different parameters for the transform and the rectangles to make the lines thicker or thinner or faster. And I hope you enjoy this. And if you have any recommendations for another artist, feel free to leave in the comments. And if you have any make a look that's inspired by this, please share. Please share and enjoy. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you're serious about taking your TouchDesigner and interactive skills to the next level, I highly recommend you check out the Interactive and Immersive HQ Pro. It's the only educational resource and community of its kind for TouchDesigner and interactive professionals. You can learn more by checking out the link in the description. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe and the little bell icon for more awesome free content.